When everything falls apart, where do we even begin again? Welcome to this week's Regulate and Rise, where regulation is the path to liberation. I'm Liana Empowers, founder of the Emancipation Frequency, and my beautiful co host is Tracy Anderson, trauma conscious somatic practitioner with Ruha Rising. And every week, we bring you topics that help you regulate your nervous system as you navigate through this life, and so that we can help you rise. That's what it's all about. We can't stay stuck and play small any longer. So, this week's topic is a very important one because I don't, there's not a person in the room that has not experienced when your life falls apart. Now, what do we do? We're in this moment. What do we do? And I quite literally think it's, where am I in that moment? Mentally, physically, emotionally, where are you? What do you think, Tracy?
When your life falls apart, you think about where, like you just said, where am I in this moment? What just happened? What just hit me? What in the world is going on?
Exactly.
And you
And
take it from
hmm,
there.
yeah,
Take it from
because
there.
t- take everything from that place. Um, why does starting over again feel so overwhelming? That's a conversation. That's what we're going to start with.
Mhm.
Why does it? Why do you think it feels so overwhelming?
It feels so overwhelming because it's sometimes it's not expected. Someone, for example, may die and you got to take on all these responsibilities. That's unexpected or overwhelming. We're not prepared. We might know something's going to happen, like a divorce or a job change, but we're not prepared. There are still many things that skills we don't have under our belts, finances we might not have under our belts. So there are all these worries that can overwhelm us because of things expected or things not expected, and we're not prepared.
Exactly.
It's like
And
a
hmm, I think
Mhm.
too, gosh, because I'm going back to some of those moments. In fact, I can feel it in my body. Uh, a lot of
Mhm.
anxiety underlies all of that, and I know, like, my body tenses up. I
Mhm.
cry. I've cried more often than uh, I normally do, which is kind of hard for me because that's not something that I always do. Um, and it's that the body reaction that I remember. Like I said, it's something that stays
Mhm.
with you. Um, and especially if you've been stuck in survival mode up to that point where your life, takes a sudden turn for the worse. Um, because
Mhm.
it's just something that's difficult to cope with, especially when you're not recognizing that it is because you're out of whack, you're out of balance. You probably had a lot of things that led up to that point. Um, it's kind of a cascading situation, or it can be if we allow it to be. Um, it's a tough one.
Mhm.
So the things, like I said, that are going on in your body and your mind, some of those things are habitual, and we develop um, these bodily responses to traumas and different things that go on in our lives. And I think that's why I remember some of those moments, because I remember how I felt inside. internally. So the other thing that I wanted to bring in is grief. I know you and I had been talking about the grieving process. For
Mhm.
example, uh, because my life took a turn in that direction over the last year, I've really been assessing myself and doing a lot of inner work. And what came up for me in the latter part of this year was grief. And I discovered that I had a lot of grief around the fact that I have been the one to carry the load in my life since birth, because I've been in survival mode since birth. I was born 2 pounds 15 ounces at uh, back in the early 1800s, and that was that was before they had all the medical advances taking
Mhm.
care of preemies. And so my body literally came into the world going through a shock, survival mode. And I think I adapted to
Mhm.
certain things as I traveled through life. And I just realized at where I'm at right now, I have been in survival mode my entire life. And I needed to grieve that. I needed to feel that release from my body through tears, um, whatever it is. I just needed to release it. And it was extremely powerful. So, can you share a little bit about the grieving process and uh, what it is, how it helps us? Uh, even I believe it can help us regulate our nervous system, can it? Going through the normal process of grief.
It can. And one thing to think about is there's no one way to do grief, to go through the grieving process. There's no certain timeline. There are no certain order to steps, because a lot of times it's how you operate. It's what your body's used to. You might go through anger, denial, acceptance, and then you're okay. Other times you're never okay, or it might take a year, it might take several years. Some people get stuck in that process because change is hard to accept or adapt to. And one of the main things is listen to your body. Our bodies speak to us before we even know what our brains are thinking. And the more in tune we can get with our bodies, which means the more you can regulate your nervous system. I know I throw those words out there. It just means, how can I keep my body calm? How can I get back to a place where I'm feeling at peace, my peaceful place? I'm feeling okay. I can handle whatever good, bad, positive, negative comes up. We got to listen to our bodies to get through the any day in life, but also to get through the grief process so that we don't stay stuck in any certain stage of it. And so that we can recognize, I'm angry today, I'm lashing out at everybody, or I'm shut down, I just can't do anything today. We got to know, where is that coming from? Am I sick? Am I grieving? Am I depressed? Am I just anxious? We got to figure out, tap into our body's language. What is it telling us? Where am I? And if it is in the grief process or in trauma, survival mode, how do I get unstuck? How do I listen to what my body's telling me the next step is I need to take?
That is so key, everything that you just said there, because I remember I've been navigating something recently where depression has crept in, and I needed to I had a choice in the matter, which I literally saw. And it's like, am I going to feel this anger? Because mine was associated with a feeling of deep anger. I think it was at myself. And am I going to choose the anger, and am I going to choose to wallow in that until I don't feel like wallowing in that anymore? Or am I going to shift again into self belief, self trust, um, all those things that I know about
Mhm.
myself, and tap into my self worth and my value again? It's like it really is a choice. But if you don't know that, then it's a lot harder to
Mhm.
navigate your way through that. Um, so what's really going on underneath, like when your life is falling apart, and what you do next? What I mean, because there's so many things that can happen in life. I'll get into a little bit more of that in a few minutes. But what are people not seeing about this particular phase? Because when you think about it, it's kind of a normal part of life. It's a normal part of the ups
Mhm.
and downs of life.
Mhm. Well, some things that might underlie it or are things just even if we know something's coming, it still comes up fast. Like I remember saying in the year 2000, I'm going to be 30 something years old. Well, guess what? Next thing, it seemed like I blinked. I'm 30 something years old and life had changed. And I was like, well, wait a minute, how'd that happen so fast?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I felt I'm not prepared to be 30. I'm not prepared to be 40. I'm not prepared to be 50. So things underlying these major life changes that we're grieving, they come. We know they're coming, but it's still like, did this really happen?
Yeah,
Did it
that
just happen? So, yeah.
that's
Go ahead,
scary
Leon.
because I remember when I turned 30. I know I'm dating
Hmm.
myself now, but there was a show called 30 something out at that time. I never really
Hmm.
watched it a lot, but I knew what it was about. And I kept thinking, oh my God, I'm 30. And I cried like a baby because you know why? Because I was not happy. And I knew I was wasting time in a marriage that I really didn't want to be in. And I was grieving. In fact, I just realized that I was grieving turning 30 because I felt like I didn't know where I was going in life, what direction I wanted to take. I was afraid to get a divorce. Uh, I don't think I was ready. You have to be ready. You have to literally prepare yourself for those moments.
Hmm. And
I know
sometimes, yeah, we're not prepared sometimes. Go
it,
ahead.
it, no, I in my book, shameless plug, Grown Sexy Wisdom, I wrote I wrote about this life falling apart and not knowing what to do next. I call it navigating the turning point. And throughout our
Hmm.
lives, we have various turning points. And it's like, how do we navigate it this time with the wisdom that we've gained from going through those other experiences? Um,
Hmm.
I'll just read a little excerpt for a minute. A turning point is a moment in time when you are standing at a crossroads and making a decision that will impact your present and your future, one that causes you to shift priorities. Right now, after all you've given in your personal blood, sweat, and tears, you get to decide how you will blaze your trail from this point forward. And the questions, what questions do you ask yourself? I feel like that's extremely important. And I know we're not logically sitting there going, oh my God, what questions do I ask myself? Not in the middle of our blubbering and our, fear and our stuckness. But the questions that I asked at this particular time in my turning point was, what lights you up? What makes your heart sing? What will be your legacy? And what mark will you leave upon the world? I think part of nervous system regulation is learning to shift your perspective as you are creating that balance in your body. And I think that those can be done simultaneously or, within, I think it can be done within that precept.
And those are realistic, wonderful questions to ask ourselves.
Exactly.
Where am I going? What do I want?
Yes. What do I want at this particular stage of the game? Sometimes a life change and what we look at as catastrophic can be your biggest springboard to your next, whatever it is that you want your next to be. Um, Again, I remember being scared to death to leave a job that I hated. And I hated the job because I was discriminated against. I was sexually harassed at this particular job. Uh, I was lied to. And this particular company only cared about the bottom line, didn't care whether they lied, cheated, or stealed to get there. And it just did not resonate with who I am. And I'm the representative of that company. And I needed to get out of there, but I was so scared of losing that paycheck that it kept me there. But I was not being who I am. It went against my morals, my values, and everything. And so I really had to look at that. But I ended up leaving because I got fed up and I was like, I'm not taking one more thing. And I just quit. But little Liana did not think about, how am I going to pay my house note? How am I going to do this? And how am I going to pay my car note? What am I going to do? But I also instinctively knew that once I left that job, I knew in my heart, my body, and my mind that the floodgates were going to open because I was keeping myself stuck and not following the dream that I wanted to live, the vision for my life. And sure enough, as soon as I left that job, it was like a hurricane. Everything that I needed for my journey forward showed up. It showed up because I allowed it to. And thank God, I think it really helps too when you're going through those moments in life, when you're having those major life shifts, that you have people in your life who can support you, who love you, and they're, not judging you, but they are actually helping you through that process, and they're there with you. God, there's so much I can say about same energy, like energy. It does wonders for you.
And you mentioned holding on to things, and when you finally let go, things fell into place. People showed up, situations show up. But think about how much energy it takes to literally hold on in your hands, in your body, all that energy to hold on to that fear. I'm holding on to
Exactly.
this fear. I can't let it go for one reason or another. And as soon as you find a way to go, okay, I'm going to take this risk, whether it's through prayer, telling yourself things, therapy, life coaching, regulation, yoga, whatever it is. As soon as you let go of that energy and learn how to let it, just accept it, accept your fear. I acknowledge I'm afraid. I acknowledge it's going to be hard. I acknowledge my next steps might not be planned, but I'm going to take this risk to let go of what I'm fighting so hard to hold on to. And all that energy will free up, as Liana said, and you're going to have energy to do what you need to do, what you feared doing. But as long as you hold on to that fear, which is an energy in your body, a tension, um, the more you hold on to that, the harder it's going to be to move forward because you're literally holding yourself backwards or in
Ex-
the same place.
Right.
So your
And that's
thoughts won't free up, etc.
mhm, mhm. And that's all part of being in survival mode because you can't just think your way out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You really have to act. You have to breathe. You have to choose to practice these things because if you
Mm-hmm.
don't, you're going to continue going through the loop. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
continue going through the same loops over and over again because when you're in that situation where, everything is falling apart around you,
Mm-hmm.
it's challenging to have a clear mind.
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself some grace and
Yes.
and a little time, and like you said before, give yourself permission to
Mm-hmm.
be nobody's asking you not to feel, not to shut everything down. And you were talking about layers earlier. Did you want to expound
Mm-hmm.
upon that?
So layers sometimes, well, not sometimes, if we really look at ourselves, there's some level of expectation or expectations that people have put on us, we have put on ourselves. We've got these labels like I'm a mother, I'm a worker, I'm this, my role in the family is to be the strong one, I must help everybody. So we have these expectations, and which, if you think of an onion, we got throughout our lives, here we are born, and as we grow, all these layers grow up around us because people are labeling us with their expectations. You should be like this. You should have done this by this time in your life. You should have successfully started your business, been a parent, raised your children, etc., etc. These are all layers that we have to look at and go, is this a layer? Let me peel off a layer at a time so I'm not just falling apart. Let me look at this. Is this something I want to keep? Is this something positive and meaningful to me? Or is it an assumption from somebody else and they're expecting me to act a certain way, and therefore that's keeping me down, keeping me from accomplishing? I want to peel that layer off and throw it away. Put it in its place. Look at it, acknowledge it, and go, okay, I don't need you anymore. Maybe I never needed you. Maybe I didn't even know you were there. But as I'm sitting and thinking about all these layers people have put on me and built up around me, I need to take those apart to find out, as Liana said, what are my morals and values at this point in my life? What are my beliefs? What are my deal breakers? What are my whatever it is in your relationships? Um, the other thing is, I think Liana, you also said we're meant to surround ourselves with people. We were not made to be here by ourselves. We're here to co-regulate with each other and make the world a better place, literally. Um, think about when you're in your mother's womb, you're connected to somebody. So you were born with that instinct, with that internal, I need that connection. I need that safety. I need to know that if my life falls apart and all these changes happen and I haven't accomplished what I wanted yet, or things aren't going as I planned, I didn't meet my goals that I wanted. We got to sometimes have people there that can support us, that can lift us up. And you have to sort through during your life who are the people that are supportive. We might think some people are and they're really not. But that's part of growing. That's part of peeling back that layer. Okay, maybe I labeled myself a failure after a relationship didn't work out, or a marriage didn't work out, or my kid flunked out of school, or whatever the case is. I'm not a failure. Let me acknowledge that I felt that way. Let me move on. That's not me. That's not my belief. That's not my value.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, you said so much there. And as you were talking, I was thinking about how peeling off those layers is shedding the skin of other people's expectations on our lives. Like we literally live our lives according to the story that someone else has designed for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I think that leads to why we don't know who we are in those moments where life is falling apart. And that can make things worse. That'll make you feel worse because it's like, okay, am I going to try to continue to live up to these expectations? Whose expectations are these? Are they mine or are
Mm-hmm.
they someone else's? You know, and I think we really don't think about how
Mm-hmm.
much of our lives that we've assigned to other people in order to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is just getting down and dirty within those layers. It's like
Mm-hmm.
when you are experiencing all these different things, typically for me, that's when things start rising to the surface.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to look at yourself and be like, oh my God, I was doing that. And then that's a whole nother process because you're like grieving those parts of yourself who allowed yourself to walk in someone else's story when you could be walking in yours all along. But these turning points, these circumstances where life falls apart give us an opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
learn so much about ourselves and be able to move forward in a different way. That's why I was saying earlier, the questions we ask ourselves in that process are
Mm-hmm.
extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know when I'm laying awake at night, you know, I'm asking questions. I'm doing my best not to degrade myself. And sometimes that happens. And I've given myself grace for doing that, but I also know how to shift it back into the direction that's more helpful for my
Mm-hmm.
life.
And then think about if you never take those feelings out or allow them to surface and look at them, what happens is you just bury them back down inside, you pretend they're not there, and that just creates all these layers of stuff you don't even know about.
Yeah.
Tension, depression. Why am I depressed? Why am I angry? Why am I lashing out at people? Why
Hmm.
can't I handle these changes coming when my life takes a sudden turn, or I turn a certain age and I'm just not prepared? How do I regulate my nervous system? And again, part of it is you got to look at that stuff. You have to allow it to come up and sit there and look at it and talk to it and examine it. Get curious about it. Why are you here? As Liana said, did I put you here, or did somebody else tell me that this is how I'm supposed to think or feel about myself? Am I feeling this way because somebody told me I didn't do something right? You got to look at things and put them into perspective so you're not continuing to bury them in your body, in your subconscious, because they will come out in different ways. So the
Yeah.
more you're aware of yourself, there's nothing wrong with looking at the good and the bad parts that we label in ourselves because they're both there. That's a reality. That's not something we can escape from. Nobody's perfect. If you were, you'd be God or whatever divine being that you believe in. So you've got to own and say, I'm going to give myself grace. I don't like this part of me. Let me do something opposite action to change how that is. Let me acknowledge what I'm feeling, what I did, what I thought, what I said, and how that affected me and other people. And then let me put it in perspective, so to speak, put it to bed, let it go goodnight, and move on with my life, knowing that I've addressed that and it's no longer buried down in there.
Yeah, because if you continue going in the same direction and you continue layering and layering, that's like trauma. You're just layering all those things, all those collapses, all those times that your life fell apart. Because again, it happens more than once. And that's why you start looping. You begin looping. And God help me, I looked at all my loops, everything that I've been through. You People that are surrounding you are there for a reason. A lot of times they're in your life to teach you something that you need to know. And then if it's good, if you think it's good for you, if you assign a good to that, then you keep them in your life. And if you assign that's not so good, then you move on from it.
Mm-hmm.
But those people are the ones that show you. And when you're navigating hard times and things like that, it's so important to just see yourself in those moments, and so that you don't continue repeating. Because at some point, a dear friend taught me, you got to stop. You got to
Mm-hmm.
stop going through the loops and take accountability and responsibility for your forward movement from there.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're just going to continue repeating the same loops.
Mm-hmm.
I call it a flat line. It's like, what's that flat line that's going through your life that
Mm-hmm.
you really never acknowledge, but it's always there, but it's holding you back.
Mm-hmm. So it's like recognizing, am I reacting to this situation because of a certain way or things I've been through? Or am I taking the time to take a deep breath, put it into perspective, which can happen within moments? You can, it's not a long thing you have to do, just putting it into perspective and then responding in a calmer manner.
Right.
And regulating your nervous system when we fall apart, it doesn't just mean I'm going to do yoga, I'm going to do deep breathing. It can look like I'm going to set this boundary because that keeps me calm. And I know, because I'm self aware and have peeled back those layers, I know what keeps me calm. So if I enter into a situation, I know I can get through it by setting a boundary and not dealing with things that are presented to me.
Right. Because sometimes we tend, I think sometimes we sound like it's so easy just to
It-
switch and flip the switch and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna regulate my nervous system. I
right.
know exactly what to do in this moment. But sometimes it takes a minute to get there. And
Mm-hmm.
so, with that said, in the middle of all this, take us through what you would do in your practice with someone who was going through a life transition like this. How would you help them? Because I know you
Mm-hmm.
deal in movement and various other things like the breathing and everything, but kind of
Mm-hmm.
give us a Ruha Rising perspective
Mm-hmm.
on how you would help someone in navigate this.
So, one of the main things that I use is myself to help with co-regulation. So I come in with a calm presence, clear state of mind to help create that safe space where you can feel like I can open up. And then we have a conversation about what's going on right now, what's hard for you, how's it making you feel, how are you responding in your body, what is your body doing, are you tense, are you holding your breath, are you finding it hard to sleep? So I would just go through a whole lot of different things to ask about and help you be aware of, oh yeah, this is how what my body's doing. What does that mean? This is the change I had in my life, and this is how my body's reacting, how my nervous system is responding, the thoughts that are going on in my brain. And then I will figure out with you, what are you comfortable with? What have you done before? Have you been in coaching? Have you been in counseling? What worked? What didn't? And a lot of times, I just, in the moment, because I know what we're working on, we've set goals. So we'll set goals based on what you tell me. And then I will notice how you're reacting or responding, because a lot of what I do, or the main basis of what I do, is body work. I pay attention to how you are responding non-verbally. What are you saying? What are you not saying? Or your tone of voice. Or I notice your breathing, or I might notice your posture. And I will bring things gently into your awareness and ask, how does that feel to you? Do you notice it? What thoughts come up for you when that happens? Are they related to something? I won't fire questions at you like this. I'm just going through what I would do. So I will help you dig deep. I don't tell you what you need to do. I help you discover for yourself what it is you need to do based on your unique reaction response system. And what are your goals? What do you want to change? What do you want to work on? So I might take you through some gentle breathing exercises. I might take you through some yoga activities based on what you're comfortable with. I might do some movement with you, or just listen to a song with you and ask you, what does that bring up for you? Does that, are you feeling calm after that? Any thoughts come into your mind? I might take you through some meditation to figure out, what is this I'm feeling inside? I can't name it. I can't really tell you. So sometimes you might just go through a meditation with me where I'll guide you, visualization. What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What's it saying to you? And it will just help you discover more about yourself. Self-awareness is the key to any kind of change, because you can't change something you don't know about. um, and sometimes we can be the smartest people in the world, but still not know, what's my body telling me? What's my nervous system telling me? How can I change that? So it's just about bringing things into your awareness and then working with them as they come up, so you feel calmer, so you feel more grounded, so you feel stronger and more confident and can make decisions from that place in your life. So
I
that's, yeah.
I think that's awesome because a lot of people don't know about that type of um, help that they can get. Most people are familiar with talk therapy and things like that, but the body movement and getting in tune with your body is so critical, because I think
Mhm.
it's because we store so much in our bodies that we do not ever
Mhm.
realize.
Right.
Because we, like you said, we layer things one on top of the other. Um, all those things, I think, turn into traumas.
Mm-hmm.
or they are traumas, one layered on top of the other. And like you said, it's like that onion. You have to start peeling away the layers
Mm-hmm.
to get to you, to get
Mm-hmm.
to the real you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, like when your life, when you're in the midst of a major life uh, fall apart, I'll say,
Mm-hmm.
it's so important to get to know yourself and to not to choose something different for yourself other than staying in the same place, going in the same loops, the same
Mm-hmm.
hamster wheel over and over and over again that you've repeated throughout your life. Look at your life. Look at how far back you've been experiencing the same things and see where you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is the loop what's causing you to go through that
Mm-hmm.
transition, that major life, that fall apart, that circumstance? Is it, the same pattern continuing to repeat? Um, gosh, it's so important to get in tune with that in order to shift
Mm-hmm.
into a different direction in your life. Good
Mm-hmm.
Lord, it's taken me a long time to get to this place to recognize me and
Mm-hmm.
get down and dirty, honest in the dirt with me
Mm-hmm.
to, to see me.
Mm-hmm.
What are my thoughts? What are my patterns? What is going on in my body? What am I repeating? It's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And you've helped me a lot with recognizing a lot of those things. So, what if this major life transition,
Mm-hmm.
the life falling apart around you, what if that isn't failure, like you said earlier? What if it's a reset, your opportunity to do it over,
Mm-hmm.
start over? That's like the phoenix. Like I say, every day that you wake up,
Mm-hmm.
you have the opportunity to be reborn because you get to choose differently. That's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
To recognize that you have the opportunity to choose different today, no matter what you did yesterday.
That's why it's, yeah, the present. It's a gift. But go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just wanted you to share a little bit about that. Like, how can someone start to see this differently, like shifting the perspective?
Mm-hmm. And that's something I work on every day with my clients. That's you've got to, in order to shift, you have to acknowledge something is happening. And you can look at it as, I'm a failure. Or you can look at it as, this is my sounding board, as Liana said. This is my chance to start over, change my choices, do something different. Because again, what we are not changing, we are choosing. And that fear can be, I don't want to cuss, but it can be something.
Cuss
And
girl.
it can, and it can, it can come over, it can come over you, it can take over. Uh, yeah, so I would help you look at that mindset, explore, and not just let's do this worksheet. This is what this means. This is da 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 da. Okay, do you understand it now? I might do some of that so you get the basic understanding, but I'm going to help you dig even deeper to go, I don't have to feel this way. Because sometimes we don't know, we don't have to feel this way. We don't have to stay, I'm a failure. We can change it to, and I can grow, and I can make a different choice, and I can feel differently, and I can be successful. But you have to feel safe in doing that, and I help create safe spaces. um, One thing about movement, somatic work, you hear all this nowadays, somatic this, somatic that, trauma conscious. this is not new. I've been doing this 30 something years, and dance movement therapy, which I initially was educated and trained in, that's how that's my framework, as well as trauma conscious yoga. That has been around for tens of thousands of years. And dance movement therapy itself started on the back wards of the hospitals because doctors didn't know what to do with these patients. There was no such thing as medication. So, guess what? You had to work with the body. You had to figure out how to ground people hearing voices and seeing things so that they could function. So, the whole somatic, which is now coming into the forefront, but it's been around forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's about grounding in your body so you can function. Bottom line is, I can function. I can think differently. I can feel safe. I can move forward. I can interact differently. I can make decisions that make my family and myself more successful. I can limitless possibilities, but you got to come from that basic place of I need that awareness in my body. What is my body saying? Because it does affect your thoughts. And then what do I do with all of that? How can I put it together so it's aligned and my body's not doing one thing and my thoughts are all over the place? Because sometimes we present as I'm I'm doing well. I'm fine. But you're not. And
You're
sometimes
lying.
people don't know. Sometimes people believe that lie. Other people, they don't see the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Only you know the truth. But again, start from that place of awareness so you can go, maybe I did fail at this, whatever that means, but I'm not going to live here. And I once heard a quote, and I say it to myself sometimes: life can be hell, but you don't have to live there. You go
Exactly.
through hell, but you don't have to live there. You can move on, take your suitcase and go somewhere else.
Right.
You might have to travel there to get to that place. And that's that hard work we have to do with ourselves. So,
And just think about it. You're not really starting from scratch when you're going through those moments because, like I said, those turning points, those major life transitions where you feel like your life is just falling apart because of a major, like, divorce or
mhm.
loss of a job or something like that. How many experiences have you been through in your life that you have navigated and you have gotten through? Look at your how you've gotten through it before, but each time you gain more wisdom in order to get through it a little better, a little easier. And that's what it takes. We have to tap into ourselves because you're not starting from scratch in those moments. You're starting from experience.
Mhm. That's a very good point, because we don't know that we have these strengths inside of us. We don't know we have the power to get through anything that comes our way. We have to believe it. It's there. That's why I don't like to tell people you need to do this and you should do this.
Yeah,
First thing I want you to do is this, because that's my thinking, that's my judgment, that's my control. I'm not in control of you. I'm
right.
not in your brain. I'm not living your life every day. So I want to help you find inside of you, where's my power that I can draw from, because it is there. You're not starting with nothing. If you were, you wouldn't even bother to say, hey, can you help me? Or can we talk about this? That means there's something going on. You've been through things before, you've gotten through them, or you wouldn't be alive.
That's
So
the truth.
you're not starting from scratch, as Liana said.
Yeah, so you really have to give yourself credit for the journey that you've navigated so far.
Hmm.
Even if you haven't come around to where you would fully like to be, you always have the opportunity to do that. And again, it's making the choice to do it, it's being consistent, it's being willing. Just like exercise or fitness, you've got to be willing to want to change those muscles and feelings and everything that you've developed in body memory and all of that. You got to be willing to change that. You got to want to change it in order to move forward differently from that place with more power, stepping into your power in a whole different way.
And even if you have times that you slip up, fall, we've all been there. We all do things. We make choices. We go, "Ooh, why did I do that?" I still cringe at things that I did back in high school. But anyway, when you fall down, you get back up. It's not a failure. That doesn't mean you have to stop. Oh, see, that proves I'm a failure. No, it doesn't. It just proves you're human. You're not perfect. You made a mistake or a choice you didn't like. So I'm going to change. I'm going to make the decision to get back up and keep going again because I'm not
Exactly.
a failure. Failure would be I'm just going to lay down and lay here and quit. I'm
Right.
not going to try.
Right.
And in our lives, we can't lay down. Well, you can. I don't know if you know of anybody, but I don't. That just lays there all day, literally. Just lay there. You don't do anything. You just lay in one spot. You don't get up. You don't do anything.
Yeah.
You
That's
can't do
challenging.
it. So,
That would be very challenging. I remember, I'll just share this real quickly. I'm one of those people, when I want to change, I like want it right now. I want it to happen right now. I want to see
mhm,
the end result. And sometimes that overwhelms me. That's my nervous system.
mhm,
But like when I was overweight and I wanted to start a fitness program. And then so I signed up for a 6-week fitness challenge. And they kept saying, just come, just show up. And then the next day, just show up again. Just keep coming. Just keep
mhm,
coming. And that's how you shift your life, is by showing up for
mhm,
yourself
mhm,
and keep going every day, doing something different, making a different choice, continuing to do the work, do the body movement, go to the beach, take in the sun, the sand, the air, the fresh
mhm,
air, you know, get yourself regulated in the ways that serve you and make you feel better.
mhm,
So, if someone is in this right now,
mhm.
what do they need to remember?
They need to remember I can start over. I can be okay. There's more to my story, but the story right now I'm telling myself is, oh my gosh, everything fell apart. Nothing worked out how I wanted it to. Why is this happening? Just remember, you can start over. You can tell yourself a different story. Your story's not over until you say the end.
Right.
So as long as you're willing to say, hey, there's more of me I got to tell. There's more about me that I want to know about myself, and I want other people to know about me. There's more I can contribute to life, to the world, to my family. And as long as you talk yourself into knowing I can start over, that it's not the end. I am not the failure, even if all this is happening right now. I can just put the pieces back together and figure it out.
Yeah, and you're allowed to start again as many times as you need to. That's
Mhm,
life.
mhm,
Those are the things, they come up. They're going to come up. You just learn to navigate them a little differently each time.
mhm. Yeah.
So that about does it for Regulate and Rise this week. Stay connected with us for more support and be sure to click the like button, comment, subscribe, share this with someone who you think it may help, especially in this time frame that we're
Mhm.
living in right now. A lot of
Yeah.
people need support. They need different solutions to the things that they've been navigating, especially when things feel heavy. And we can all get through this. We can get through it because there's so many tools to use. And Tracy, be sure to check out her site at Ruha Rising. She has a lot of different services that she can offer. And just check out her website and peruse that. And Tracy can help you with getting your nervous system regulated. And also be sure to check out the Sovereign Income Reset, my program that I'm offering to women to help them regulate their nervous system, to help them, restore their identity and activate their income. And so this is what Tracy and I are doing. This is our service to you. And we want to see you regulate and rise. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. See you.